Good morning. Karen Wolf here, coming to you live from Marquette, Michigan, where it's been quite balmy the past couple of days. Today we're going to look at the results of the asset and sidebar surveys taken this past May in Gogebic and Ontonagon counties. Please feel free to type in any questions or comments you may have as we go along, and we will get to those at the end of the webinar. I'll try not to bounce around too much and keep it to a half hour. And I will be available afterwards if there is anybody who would like to continue chatting. Great Lakes Center for Youth Development, or GLCYD as many call us, has taken to looking at the two arms or branches of the Y in GLCYD as symbols of the two areas, nonprofits and youth serving organizations, we primarily work in. We look at youth as resources and contributors to the community with a focus on involving and listening to them. We try to work together with everyone in the community to help kids succeed. We provide resources, trainings, and support to schools and organizations that work with young people and nonprofits of all types. You can find more information and resources to share with nonprofit volunteers and board members on our website. In 2000, the year 2000, Marquette Alger Youth Foundation started sharing the asset framework in Marquette and Alger counties. I started working at GLCYD in 2007, not too long after they had evolved and opted to go UP-wide. The first UP nonprofit conference was held in 2005 and has continued on an annual basis. As the organization evolves, so does the mission. At a board staff retreat held in August, 3 perspectives I picked up on included summarizing our mission as helping communities understand how healthier youth development impacts their mission and goals. Another goal mentioned was UP communities will add positive youth development to their daily work. The last was that we had become more relationship focused and expanded our audience. Speaking of relationship building, I started coming out to Gogebic County 4 years ago, wanting to revive relationships and continue with the asset framework model and learn everything I could about the people, their cultures, and their communities, but mostly their youth. It is very easy to generalize and view our young people as entitled and wrapped up in themselves and their cell phones. But they are very aware of things going on around them, and there is so much more to them than meets the eye. Their observations and the way they view their circumstances can tell us a lot about ourselves and our communities. In order to encourage them to think about things from different perspectives, we need to do the same in how we think about them. The members of the recently established Communities That Care network in Gogebic County were asked to identify traits or characteristics that they admired in their youth. Responses included things like they are resilient, creative, positive, strong, observant, kind, smart, well-mannered, adaptable, inquisitive, and respectful. I see the same traits in the adults out there. The developmental assets. GLCYD promotes this framework for looking at and building upon the strengths of young people. Research shows that the more assets kids have, the more likely they are to grow up healthy, competent, and caring, and the less likely they are to take part in risky behaviors such as alcohol and drug abuse. They're really protective factors. Building assets starts when a child is born and continues into adulthood. GLCYD's focus is on kids up to age 18, but people don't stop needing assets then. It's important for the entire community to give kids consistent messages about what is important and what is expected of them, and it's important that these messages are repeated over the years and in all areas of their life. Caring adults come in many forms, and I hope that you all have someone or many adults you can think of who had an impact on who you are now. A coach, grandparent, neighbor, teacher, business person who made you feel respected and acknowledged. These people were building developmental assets in you. I want to be thought of as a caring adult by other adults as well as by our youth. The Ironwood students that attended the convening GLCYD held in Marquette in spring of 2015 inspired me to be more of a caring adult. They went to their school board, they said they wanted to host a youth summit, they wanted to do the survey, they wanted to implement peer helping groups in their schools. I was so impressed by the fact that they took it upon themselves to ask for these things that I worked a lot harder to pull some of this stuff off. And we did have a summit last October, and the alternative school kids hosted it. It was very well attended and was a successful event. And we are having another one on Wednesday to go over the results of the survey. If you'll take a look at the community report I sent you, the survey measures the level of the 40 assets in a community. It also looks at deficit behaviors, substance use behaviors, risk-taking behaviors, and thriving indicators. The last time the survey was completed in Gogebic and Ontonagon counties was in 2009. The survey looks at grade and gender in the results, and it gives a great picture of how our kids are doing, where they are doing well and where they may need extra support. This data is useful in preparing grant applications and in identifying areas of need. 1 out of the 5 youth only have 0 to 10 assets. Only 12% of that group reports maintaining good health, and 62% of them experience depression and or thoughts of suicide. 62% of the total group feel they can overcome adversity in their lives. We all build assets in our everyday lives, but the biggest key is doing it intentionally. Each community is unique, but all are dealing with many of the same issues. Youth need and want guidance and boundaries. The effort put into building relationships and assets can make a tremendous impact, whether that's in the life of an individual kid or a group of kids or an entire community. We can build the assets in big ways with projects or programs, or in small ways just in our individual dealings with youth. When you build one asset, you're almost always building others. If you go to page 2 and 3 of the report, you will see that the assets are broken down into 2 types. External assets, relationships and opportunities that young people experience in their families, schools, communities. Those are provided to youth. Internal assets, competencies and values that youth develop internally to guide behaviors and choices. They can get help in developing these. Okay, the external assets. What can we provide to bring these up? Pick 1 or 2. You're probably already doing these things. Just think of ways to amp it up a little bit. Other adult relationships. Community values youth. Youth as resources. Service to others. Creative activities. Those are things we can all provide. And the internal assets, what jumps out at you here? Some of the factors that impact these internal assets involve the harsh realities of life that many of these kids face on a daily basis. But the way we treat them and the example we show them can impact them as well. We have to remember that many of them have suffered childhood traumas, but we can still teach by example when it comes to caring equality and social justice, planning and decision-making, peaceful conflict resolution, and self-esteem. Congratulate yourselves, people of Gogebic and Ontonagon counties. All of the assets are important, but the ones that were on the top of the list are pretty worthy. You're looking at a good group of kids who have been taught well. With the least common assets, I don't think that the youth who took the survey considered all the time they spend reading things on the internet as reading for pleasure. But they are reading. The two in the middle here are assets we can all build upon. Just by asking our youth to participate and get involved in community projects or events. A youth summit that we're holding on Wednesday is where we actually break the kids into groups and ask them to come up with ideas to raise some of the assets with the lower numbers. Okay, if you look at page 3 in the report again, you will see that 20 of the 40 assets listed increased by 5% or more in the past 7 years. Check out the little arrows along the side. 5% or more is considered significant. That's incredible. Included in the 8 that decreased, however, are interpersonal competence, personal power, self-esteem, sense of purpose, and positive view of personal future. These are all areas in which we can help them by setting an example and treating them with respect. The sidebar survey was developed by GLCYD with the help of the schools and the health departments to look at additional areas that impact the lives of the young people in our communities as our culture changes. In 2009, internet usage wasn't even mentioned in the community report, but it's 2016 and this is the way they communicate. If you look at the back of the report, 1 out of 3 reports spending more than 5 hours a day on the internet. How many are online 24/7? What about the kids who don't have a cell phone? What about the impact it has had on communication in general? The amount of information that is thrown at all of us, but particularly our young people, along with the normal adolescent issues and mixed messages, can be overwhelming and an epidemic of its own. We got into quite a discussion about this back in July at the Superintendent Roundtable when we presented the report, and it came up again at a service providers meeting in Ontonagon County. Teaching young people to think in different perspectives and to question the things they read and see on the internet is more critical now than ever. Training them to make good choices, or teaching them, not training them, and to keep an open mind instead of just following whatever is trending today. Learning to shut it all off and listen to their instincts. We can all work on promoting that. Search Institute has developed another framework that I've been researching. It addresses a set of 5 factors that studies have shown influence students' desire and ability to work hard in school and other areas of their lives. You can go into it hardcore, go get training and spend a lot of money, or you can get the materials and let students use it as more of an independent study. Trout Creek is purchasing the curriculum through a grant I'll be talking about shortly. I believe this goes hand in hand with other trends I've been observing. At the Dickinson Iron Use Summit I attended last Tuesday, half of the groups chose caring school environment as the asset they wanted to promote and work on. Ideas ranged from having a birthday club where they would put a Uber candy bar and sticky note on the locker of students celebrating a birthday. Another school wanted to start a buddy program for new students where one of the students would adopt a new student, show them around, take them to a sporting event, make sure they get to their classes on time. Our younger generations are quite fair-minded and caring. I wish we could say the same for all of our adults. but I believe programs and frameworks and all of the work you are doing out there makes a difference. And it can only help to bring up those numbers of internal assets I mentioned earlier. Anyway, I can't wait to see what the groups in Gogebic-Ontonagon come up with this week. And for those of you in the area, please feel free to stop in at the Lindquist Center at Gogebic College on Wednesday between 8:30 and 1:30. In reviewing the giant report from the Search Institute, some of the items reported that show great cause for concern include 25% of students reported physical abuse at home. 25% report being the victim of physical violence. 39% have attended a drinking party, and 20% report having attempted suicide. We need to help them. The number of young people diagnosed with anxiety, ADHD, autism, depression, eating disorders, addiction, as well as many other conditions continues to grow, and services available to them can't keep up with the pace. Cuts to school funding don't allow for additional counseling staff, or in many cases, medical staff to deal with this. According to major hospitals in the UP, the greatest health need is access to mental health services. The Community Foundation of the Upper Peninsula requested a grant from the Michigan Health Fund Foundation to help develop a coordinated system of support that will increase access to mental health services for children and adolescents in the UP. Gogebic-Ontonagon is one of the 9 targeted areas, as the local community foundations are members of the CFUP. The outcomes they hope to achieve include increased access to counseling and mental health services, improved collaboration between school and community programs, increased understanding of mental health by students, families, school staff, and community members, and decreased mental illness and improved mental health for children and adolescents. I have been promoting this grant to the schools out there this year, and Ewan Trout Creek's counselor wrote an application, and she was able to get a grant to implement the Natural Helpers Peer Helping Program. She brought students here to Marquette, and we did a training. Then they went to Northern and climbed the rock wall and played racquetball and basketball and got a little trip to Marquette and learned a lot about helping their fellow students. She's also going to bring in the Sparks and Reach programs. In Ontonagon, the counselors wrote a grant to get additional counselor hours to implement a Lions Quest program where they had the curriculum from the Lions Club, just lacked the hours to focus on it. They were being very intentional. Now, for this next round of grants, Bessemer's peers teacher, Heather, I think you're on the call, from Great Start, and Denise Woodward, the principal in Ironwood, are also submitting proposals for different training and programs. Working together when these opportunities present themselves can only strengthen our efforts. If you are interested in this Community Foundation grant info, just type a note and I'll email it to you. The areas of substance use and health and nutrition have been receiving a lot of attention. And there's much more awareness and education to prevent substance use and a lot of focus on health and nutrition. It's an awful lot to think about, but there are so many ways we can improve the circumstances in our community and the way we treat each other of all ages. Set that example. The Communities That Care Network has formed in Gogebic County, and if you are from the area and attending this webinar, you should probably be a part of it. This program is active in Alger and Berg counties, and it is also getting into other areas of the UP. I believe this is also through a grant from North Care Network. So there's a couple of spots you can go to learn more about that. And I guess I'll kind of wind this up with I encourage you to focus on values development in our youth. This can be done through the intergenerational relationships and through emphasizing service to the community, through educating and supporting parents and encouraging constructive use of time. Pick out a couple of assets that concern you and think about what you can do to build them in our youth. Use your imagination. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. Questions? I'm going to mute me.
It doesn't look like we have any questions at the moment. If you're typing a question, could you please click the raise hand button so we know to watch for your question to come through? It looks like we've got a question coming, and we did have a comment thanking Karen for the report.
Okay, what's the question?
All right, the question is, how will you share the outcomes for the upcoming summits?
I have contacted the new reporter at the Daily Globe. I don't know how in depth he will get. I will probably do a follow up blog as well. That will be on our website. I'm open to suggestions on that.
Awesome. It looks like that was the only question.
Okay, well then we will let you folks get off to your Mondays, and I appreciate you tuning in, and hope you got some of the information you were anticipating. And I think you all know how to reach me. I sent the email this morning. I usually am able to get back to people within the day most of the time. So thanks again and have a good day.